Okay, so this is Unit 4, Earth Systems and Resources. And this first kind of case study that it talks about here is all about Mount St. Helens and the event itself, so that natural disturbance itself. And then they talk about the different rocks and things that are involved, and the ash that happened, and then what happened to the ecosystem after the disruption. So how did this ecosystem recover? So that's that. So that would be a nice thing to read through. It would review some things that we've already learned and then ties in Earth Systems, Unit 4, into stuff that we've already learned. Okay, so we're gonna start off with Module 19, which is section 3.1, or I'm sorry, 4.1. And this is all about plate tectonics. And so this is going to discuss the layers of the Earth, and then also how plates move. And it'll talk about the different, like the distribution of plate boundaries and what type of geologic formations or features are present at those different boundaries. Okay, so I have not seen very many questions where they ask you to know the actual layers of the Earth. So from the core to, the lithosphere on the outside of the planet where the crust is. But, and those words actually are not in the CED, the course guide for apes. So I don't think that you really need to worry too much about this very first part where it's talking about all the different layers. I wouldn't spend my time memorizing that. You do need to understand, though, how plate tectonics work. And so that movement actually creates geographic features on land. So that is something you need to know. So you need to know, like, at what type of plate boundaries do earthquakes occur, and what is a hot spot? How do volcanoes occur? It does talk about a tsunami. That's a pretty major natural disturbance that can happen and can disrupt ecosystems. And then you need to know these different types of boundaries. And you also need to understand this diagram. This is really important. This is a process that happens not just under the under the ground in the magma, but it also happens in the ocean, and it also happens with air. So this is how we get weather patterns based on these convection currents. It's actually how wind is produced, and all of our weather events like precipitation and things like that. Okay, so you need to understand this diagram. So make sure that you look at that, and then make sure that you understand it. And if you have any questions, make sure you ask me. There are three types of plate boundaries. There are divergent boundaries, convergent boundaries. Those two are both caused by this convection current. And you also need to understand transform boundaries. So make sure you know all of those. Again, make sure you know what types of geologic features happen at each of those. And then here's just a map that shows the tectonic plates of the world. Really good to know that not this right here. Oh, I'll have to show you in a second. That's not a very good picture of what I was gonna say. Well, the ring of fire, that's something that they talk about often. And it's this area, I guess it is right here. So it's this area, especially on the western part of this, so around the Philippines and Japan, they get a lot of earthquake activity because they are positioned right on the ring of fire. So that's really important to know. Do you have to memorize any of these plates? Absolutely not. You do need to know those features that occur, though, at each of the plates. That's something that's marked in the course guide for teachers. Okay, and then here is a transform boundary. A huge example of a transform boundary, particularly because it's in the United States, is the San Andreas Fault, which runs along California. That's why California sees so many earthquakes. Earthquakes are something that occur at a transform boundary. Here's a cartoon image of it. Here's an actual image. You can see the fault line right there. And then make sure that you understand the consequences of plate movements on biodiversity. So that's all really important. Oh, this is a better picture of the ring of fire. So this is where we get a lot of geologic activity. And then this is just another nice diagram to show you like all of those different geologic features that occur at these different plate boundaries. So I think that is everything that you need to know from Module 19. I'll see you again in Module 20.